All right.
That's beautiful.
I'd like to call to order the November 14th, 2023 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Fitz.
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman.
Here.
Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Price. Here. Councilperson Littner.
Here.
Councilperson Begard.
Here.
Mayor.
All right. Would anybody like to offer invocation? If you would like, please rise.
Let us pray. We pray, O Lord, for all those in our community who are responsible for our civic welfare, health, and security. Guard our council that they may have a care only for what will promote good government. And to all others in positions of responsibility, give such a sense of duty that no self-interest shall turn them from it. We also remember before you those who are employed in our service in dangerous or lowly work. For we are all members one of another, and all our labor is honorable in your sight. Help each one of us to do well this work we have to do for the common good of all. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Joanne will lead us in a pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive and information sessions. There were none. Additions, deletions, and reorganization of the agenda. I would like to add item 11D, authorization to pay the bills. And I would like to remove item 12F, which is the resolution to authorize the land bank to accept properties. Are there any other additions, deletions, or reorganization? Can I have a motion to approve the reorganized agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the reorganized agenda. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Shoot, I forgot to put this down early. All right. Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. I don't have any sign-ups. Is there anyone that wanted to speak that did not sign up? All right. Minutes for approval. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for October 24th, 2023?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Price, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for October 24th, 2023. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, presentation and acceptance of reports. First one, community development, Councilperson Kaufman.
I'd like to acknowledge receipt of the planning and zoning report for October 2023 and acknowledge the receipt of the Columbia Market House report for October 2023.
Thank you. Public Works and Property, Councilperson Stahl.
Yeah, I would like to acknowledge the receipt of the Public Works and Property report for October 2023.
All right. Safety and marketing, Councilperson Begard.
Thank you, President Zink. I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the public safety reports for October 2023, including the Penn State Health Lifeline report, Columbia Borough Police Department report, and the Columbia Borough Fire Department report.
I don't believe the fire department was in there.
You're right, it's not in here. Acknowledge receipt of the EMOC report for 2023 and code compliance report and condemnation report for October 23.
Could I ask a question on the condemnation report? The 8th and Cherry Street status, the one that was maybe Poland is then. The 8th and Cherry, it was at the corner of 8th and Cherry condemned.
174 South 4th Street.
No.
8th and Cherry, I'm sorry.
South, right,
Yeah.
174 South 8th Street.
Has that
That
been?
has been lifted.
It was, okay, that's what I wondered. Thank you.
And Teresa, when we post the reorganized agenda, can we also remove the Columbia Borough Fire Department from there, since that was not included? Presentations, we have nothing on there. No mayor, Chief Brummer, anything this evening? Thank you. All right. Action items. The first item we have is to authorize the advertisement of the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20 zoning, Section 220-56, off-premise signs. Could I have a motion to authorize that advertisement?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the advertisement of the ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance. We talked about this last week on Thursday, just a few days ago, at the workshop. We had the presentation from the person applying for it that requested this, the requester. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on this action? No? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 220 zoning, Section 220-56, off-premise signs. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, get that advertised.
I was just looking at things. I believe we should be able to get that in for the first voting meeting in December.
Okay.
So
That's
I will,
good.
yeah, I think we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, let's get that in then for then. Next, could I have a motion to approve change order number 3 for ECS for additional soil characterization at the McGinnis Innovation Park?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve change order number 3 for ECS for additional soil characterization at the McGinnis Innovation Park. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question. In May, when we had the change order for $22,000 for the lead, when I asked you what the results of that were, Mark, you had sent out an email from a lady named Kay Linnell, and she said that they did not anticipate any further groundwater investigation would be required. And she went on with some other things, but I'm wondering now why this is, if she thought 3 months ago we wouldn't need this.
Because DEP now went back and required it because of the potential to impact groundwater in the area. So this is DEP looking at it saying, no, we need this, so they required a change.
Okay, because she had mentioned that it was greater than 40 feet deep, and she's,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, we had a conference call with them, and they said, no, we need to just, they want to establish a couple of test wells and a perimeter around it, just to verify.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns on this?
Is this the area in which the proposed park is going to go? Or is-
Yes, that's it, yeah.
It is.
The old Mount Pleasant homes.
All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve change order number 3 for ECS for additional soil characterization at the McGinnis Innovation Park. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, could I have a motion to approve the special events application for the annual Santa Parade on, what's the date on that? Because it's not on that thing. And I can't.
25th.
On November 25th. motion to approve the special events application for the annual Santa Parade on November 25th.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Price, second by Councilperson Brigard, to approve the special event application for the annual Santa Parade on November 25th. And I forgot to add that this is contingent upon receipt of certificate of insurance and
Pay the fees.
and the application fees. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? No? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Price, second by Councilperson Brigard, to approve the special event application for the annual Santa Parade on November 25th, contingent upon receipt of certificate of insurance and permitting fees. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, 11D, this is the one we've added. Could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the bill payments. We all received a hard copy of this. It was inadvertently missed when the agenda was done. Anyone looked at it?
What's the solicitor fees, was that for more than 1 month?
It was 2 months.
I thought you said it was going to be 2 the next time, but I, thank you.
Is this the last payment then for Executive Image?
Yes.
Should be. Had a very long conversation with them.
Okay.
I had a question on the TCW, so it'd be page 11. On the work done there, what project was that for?
That was putting the new PA system in the market house.
Okay, gotcha.
May I ask a question about, is that what you're talking about, Peter, that I missed the line item you said?
Page 11 and 12.
Yeah.
TCW.
Yes.
5,997.
Okay, so TCW and the GAB, that's in our packet tonight to discuss for this room, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
So-
same company, different projects.
Okay, so we already employed them for other stuff. is
To
what-
put the PA system in the market house,
Okay.
the new speakers and the mic system.
I just didn't remember that name before, that's why I was asking.
I think, are there any other questions on the bill payments? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. We're on to new business. I think we can largely discuss the four of them at the same time, and then if we would like to take action, we can. Chief, you want to tell us about these items?
May I first of all acknowledge Tom Ziegler, who's in the audience. He is on our Civil Service Board. He is one of 5 board members. I'd just like to thank the Civil Service Commission for the wonderful job they do overseeing the competitive testing process for both promotion and also new hires. So thank you.
Thank you.
We council and the police department, the mayor and I, have talked about this point in time over the last 10 years. It's arrived. We have a number of senior officers who are retiring. We have 2 who actually have rank, myself as a sergeant, who is in the drop, and a 3rd senior officer as well is in the drop. And in not too distant future, we have 2 that are eligible for retiring. It is very important, for the future leadership of this department that we be proactive and make some decisions this evening to approve the promotion of our 2 corporals, Holly Arndt, Dave Souders, to the rank of sergeant, and Andrew Snyder and Brent Kaiser to the rank of corporal. We have always had 4 sergeants in this department for about the last 20 years or so. There was a period of time where I chose not to fill that 4th sergeant position. So what we're actually, I'm asking this evening is for the council to consider adding that 4th sergeant in. And with the promotion of the 2 corporals, that will leave 2 corporal vacancies. And we would want to fill those positions as well. I can tell you all 4 are very fine officers. This is the future of the Columbia Borough Police Department. So I ask you to seriously consider approving these promotions. Thank you.
And I'll just remind everyone that per our budget discussion last week, we did say we were good with having the 4 sergeant positions. And in discussing this with Tammy, we would want these to be effective, what was that date, the 27th?
Yeah, it would be the first pay of December. So like the cutoff and then the last 2 pays of the year they'll have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those are just based on the approval and all that stuff. Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, that just made it cleaner.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns?
I think it's a smart move. Like Jack said, this is the future of the department. I think that as we continue to elevate our officers and give them opportunity within the department to grow, to succeed, to lead, I think it's going to be even more important in the future as we do this to see what percolates to the top, because as Jack also said, there's going to be a day when we need to fill a chief's position. And I'm a believer in hiring from within versus hiring from without. And I know all 4 of these officers, and they're all excellent candidates for the role that they're being assigned to tonight, if council should approve. There's potential within here and elsewhere to take on some larger roles in the future as well. So I think it's a good step forward in solidifying our police department.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? No? We want to act this evening or wait until, there's not a whole lot of discussion here. So could I have a motion to approve the promotion of Corporal Holly Arndt to the rank of sergeant?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Councilperson Linder, second by Councilperson Price, to approve the promotion of Corporal Holly Arndt to the rank of sergeant. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the promotion of Corporal Dave Souders to the rank of sergeant?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Councilperson Burgard, second by Councilperson Price, to approve the promotion of Corporal Dave Souders to the rank of sergeant. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, I have a motion to approve the promotion of Officer Andrew Snyder to the rank of corporal.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard, second by Councilperson Price, to approve the promotion of Officer Andrew Snyder to the rank of corporal. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And finally, could I have a motion to approve the promotion of Officer Brent Kaiser to the rank of corporal?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Linder, second by Councilperson Brigard, to approve the promotion of Officer Brent Kaiser to the rank of corporal. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And again, these will all be effective November 27th. So, I mean, if they would be able to come in on the 28th and we could congratulate them, that would be great.
I'll discuss with you, board member Stivers, and investigate.
Okay, that sounds good, thank you. All right. Next, we have Resolution 2023-31 to appoint Todd Canfield to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Ooh, this is exciting. I saw that, I was like, ooh, oh my God, someone from Parks and Rec. Are there any questions or comments on this?
His application is in there for
Yeah.
people to read. I know him personally, he's a good guy. Straight up.
He seems sincerely
dependable.
excited about coming on,
Yeah.
so I think he's going to be a good addition.
Do we want to take action on this evening? Yeah? All right, do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-31, appointing Todd Canfield to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Fisher, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to adopt Resolution 2023-31, appointing Todd Canfield to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We have removed item 12F, so we're at 12G. Considering a proposal from TCW GAV for $21,000 to upgrade the AV system in council chambers. We've talked about this several times before, but this is the official proposal to rework the camera, get it hardwired into the internet so that we can get back to live streaming, possibly doing the, be able to do meetings in here, all those kinds of things, and replacing the last of the lay-down microphones with goosenecks for better performance for those on the side tables.
So reached out to a lot of other municipalities that have recently upgraded their systems, and I got the names of the companies they've used. Several names came up that were popular among the municipalities. We went out and got quotes from two of them. This came in as I think one of the best quotes. Wilson and I then went around and went down to the county because GAV, Glick Audio, installed the system in the county commissioners' council room. We went down and met with them and talked through it. Glick also applied, put a system in Manhattan Township's supervisor's office. We went down and looked at that, and then both systems are similar, and both are similar to what we're proposing here. And the comments that we got were that the systems were very efficient, the team was good at coming in and setting it up. Anytime they had any issues, they came back out and troubleshot right away. And my favorite part of it, the whole thing, was everyone who used it, they said it's so simple. It's easy to use. It's a solid, good system that will get rid of the whole rack behind Peter here. That all goes away. It's all integrated internally. Once you get presets built into it, it's very simple to use and run. So we were impressed with it, and we were ready to move forward.
I just have one question for you. I would have liked to have seen the other quotes because I think we need to be able to compare numbers. I just don't feel, I mean, maybe this is the best and the best quote, but I don't really know that because I didn't get to see the others. So I would like to see more than one when we have to vote on something like this. I just feel like it would be better for us to have that knowledge.
Do you want to put it on to the next agenda? Because the other one came in around $20,000 more. So, I mean, I'll be glad to get to you. If you want to delay to the next meeting, we can get it to you to look at. I didn't even think about it. I should have put them.
I mean, I'm anxious to see this system upgraded. I'm not trying to downplay
I know,
that
I
at
get
all.
it. It's-
But I just feel like we are only given one. I don't have any idea how much a system like this would cost, so I did a little bit of research online just to try to familiarize myself a little with it. But for me to be handed a number like that, it doesn't mean a whole lot unless I see a comparison.
Well, and again, I can tell you that the other quote we got was around $40,000 for similar equipment with the install and everything. And looking at them both, I thought, let's save the money. And if the system was good, we'll do it. But again, if you guys would rather see it before we vote, we can put on the agenda for next meeting.
Are the speakers and all that they did for the market, are they all set up already?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're working well.
Yep.
There's no problem with that.
Nope, we're great.
Were both of the quotes through a CoStar's contract?
Yeah.
Same contract or just?
Both were CoStar qualified.
Yeah.
And then were we like offered similar things that are listed here? I mean, it was all similar.
Yeah, I had went through with both companies. They came here, walked through the room, we explained what we needed and what we wanted to do.
You know, I'm just thinking back to prior times when council was given generally 2 to 3 quotes of something, and then we kind of.
Well, I understand. Again,
I think we should wait.
that's fine. We can put on the agenda for next meeting and I'll put the other one on there for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do we have the 21,000 to do it?
Yeah, we'll take it out of the ARPA funds.
So that'll go into the meeting on the 28th as an action item. Yes, Brian?
Is this some kind of new technology that we didn't get this before? Why is this coming about now?
The camera that we use now, Frank, in the back of the room here, was purchased in 2019 before I came on board. And the idea was to, at the time, we were using an iPhone to live stream the meetings. And we wanted to improve the quality and be able to tie the audio from the microphones into that, so that camera was purchased. We've been having technical issues with that camera on multiple occasions. So was this technology available 4 years ago? Probably. I don't think it's advanced that far. It's just not the direction the borough went at the time when we spec'd out the room. I think the other thing that has changed, honestly, is with COVID, more and more meetings are being done virtually. So it's very difficult for us to hold a virtual meeting like Teams or whatever, Zoom, if in this room, because you almost have to take a laptop with the camera and you're carrying around pointing, because that camera can't do those kind of meetings. It's a live stream only. So it's the technology is an upgrade for us. It's probably been around for a few years, but also the change in how we do things post-COVID has made the need for holding virtual meetings, I think, important.
Well, I'm glad for it too, because we had so much trouble. Where are these people from?
They're local. Both firms we looked at were from Lancaster County. One was up in Mount Joy, the other one's over east, I'll get it wrong, but I think East Lampeter, somewhere in that area.
Okay, whoever you pick, I hope you have them at our first meeting so they can check it too, as we all do. Thank you.
Thanks.
I've worked with TCW for 30 years. They're a good company, reputable, stay behind their product and service. Good folks.
I've heard lots of good things about Click Audio Video.
Mark, it says on the executive brief that this quote expires on the 10th of November.
And then if you look down on the brief, I actually say that they'll honor it through. So I'll contact them tomorrow and make sure they're good for another 2 weeks.
So through to the decision?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to move that on to an action item on the 28th. Next, we have another crossing guard. Consider authorizing the chief to hire Josie Lesher as part-time crossing guard. Woo! We get a crossing guard like every meeting now.
I assure you, I am not adding guards.
He's losing them as fast as he's picking them.
I figured, I
It feels like
figured.
it's like 30 by now, but.
I know, it just, you know, I'm gonna stop and ask you.
I will vouch for it. Yes, he was working today on that. Yeah.
Throughout the week, so, yes.
All right, are there any questions, comments, concerns on this item? Did we want to take action tonight?
Yeah.
Got Wall Street tomorrow. All right, do I have a motion to authorize the chief of police to hire Josie Lesher as a part-time crossing guard?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Linder, to authorize chief of police to hire Josie Lesher as part-time crossing guard. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next, now we're up to Derek. We have a discussion and update on the Walnut Street beautification project.
Good evening, everyone. What brings this topic up?
I need the timer. No, I'm just kidding.
Please, that's fine. What brings us back to the table tonight is an update on basically where we're at on progress of this project and some of the revisions to the project scope that we've made since the public meeting that we had here a couple of months ago. So we kind of ran on two paths here. Number one, we heard some of the concerns and comments from the residents and council on the project. Number two, I've been looking really hard at budget on this one, and it's not getting any better. So what I have for you tonight is a marrying of a cost reduction, but also an approach that I believe is going to address some concerns with the drastic change that this project proposes for the corridor. So the bummer is I'm proposing that we lose our Green Island. I know that was the kind of the showpiece of the project. However, all other items on the project remain conceptually the same. So we're not drastically changing anything that we received PennDOT approval for. We're not changing anything, engineering-wise, scope-wise. All I'm proposing to do is take that Green Island out, which does a couple of things. Number one, it saves you a ton of money, in the neighborhood of probably $300,000 to $400,000. Because that was going to be a very big ticket item to not only excavate and remove that section of street, but then to form up or new curb, do the paving repair around it, and then bring in the green landscape. So nothing else, it saves a lot of money as we started looking at how we're going to be able to cut some budget to keep this within reach of the borough's grant funds and what we believe would be a reasonable ability to raise additional funds to pay for the project. What we heard from the public were two concerns. Number one was access. Sharon, I believe you actually specifically asked that one question about how they're going to get over this curb and get to their house. Valid, very valid question. While I think we could have overcome that, I understand it would have been a hurdle for the residents of the street. Number two is to plant trees in that island. We needed to make it of a significant enough width that we had enough land in there to get tree roots, that we weren't going to be damaging the curb or popping the pavement up. The problem is the width that center median was going to demand. We had that in there at a minimum 5 foot. It was going to squeeze our parking lanes and our travel lane down. We were looking at a 7-foot parking lane and a 10-foot travel lane, which is mathematically doable. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It is, but it's tight. Recognize that. So with the removal of the Green Island, we made the decision to shrink that down to a 3-foot buffer instead of a 5-foot buffer. And we're going to steal those 2 feet, add a 1/4 foot to both parking lanes to get a 7.25 feet, and then add the rest of the center drive aisle. If you look at the plan, you'll see that the drive aisle actually varies in width. At its narrowest point, it's a little over 11, a little under 11 and a quarter, and in some areas, it's up over 12 feet. That's because the curves aren't straight. These are the houses, these are the neighborhoods. And not on this street, not anywhere in the borough. It's straight. So the goal would be to keep the current curb alignment in its same fashion. We're not going to change that alignment of the curb. It's important that we maintain 9 feet for the bike lane. We can't change that. We need 4.5 feet both ways to make that safe. The 3-foot hatch area is enough room to give you some separation from the parked cars, and also to give the parked cars an opportunity to open their door without knocking anybody off their bike. So we wanted to keep a little bit of space in there to make sure that that wasn't a safety hazard. The parking lanes are generally the parking lanes because, you know, cars are an average width, so we want to keep those the same. So that's why the drive lane's going to vary. Out of any piece on here, that's the piece we want to look at. We did account, I see Mr. Mullen is here, we did account for some better turning lanes. We accounted for some better access to some of the existing properties along the street. With a painted median strip, you're not going to have an obstruction in the street anymore. So even though we're still reserving a similar amount of space for parking in the center, it gives vehicles turning in and out and around a little bit more room to do so. It just makes everything flow a little bit easier. What finally sold me on, you know, as I visualized this and went out and kind of walked, we literally went out there with a spray can and started spray painting lines of different widths just to see what it all looked like. What I remembered is that northern lane is likely going to have cars parked there pretty frequently. There's going to be a wall of cars there, and while the intent of that green island was to provide that physical barrier, I believe that with the paint that we're proposing and the cars that are normally going to be parked there, you're actually going to achieve that physical barrier. We're just using cars instead of grass and trees. So conceptually, the approach is the same. I can tell you construction-wise, this is easier. Now we're looking at just a mill and overlay of the street, not any sort of reprofiling or changing of the center line to get the grades work with the island. We don't have to worry about stormwater flows anymore hitting that island and going elsewhere than they do right now. So no changes there. And again, it gives you, with the paint, what I will say is it gives you flexibility to make modifications to this if you so choose in the future. If something isn't working, if you want to lengthen something or widen something, shorten something, it gives you some opportunity to make some improvements without having that physical barrier in the center of it. So I do want to add that I don't think I know that this design would set you up to do a barrier in the future if you so choose to do so. The center island doesn't necessarily go away. It doesn't make it infeasible. It could become a phase 2. If you get this in, you love this design, you want to do something else more with that street, you can do that in a future phase. It's all set up to do that. But basically, as of right now, what this would change, aside from that center island, is it would just move the trees back into the sidewalk area. So we would work with Shade Tree to make sure that we have adequate tree wells located here. We would work to make sure we pick appropriate species that aren't going to pop our new sidewalk up, that aren't going to grow up into the power lines where there are power line obstructions. So maybe implore some larger trees on one side where we have clear, keep some shorter ones where we have power lines in the way, and just kind of work that out. While I haven't reworked the lighting design with our lighting contractor yet, I think it will actually reduce the amount of street lights we need. Because in the previous design, we were using kind of street lights and we had to cast across the center island, which is where the trees are. Now we don't have to cast across the trees, so I think the lights will actually light more of the street because they won't have any obstructions. So while I'm not willing to say exactly how much cost savings there is there, I think there will be a slight cost savings in lighting once we rework it all out. So I'm hoping that was close to 5 minutes, but that's and I understand too, this is Pete said it best, I said, Pete, what do you think? He's like, that was kind of, I know, it's not, it doesn't show like the rendering on the website anymore, but I still think it gets you that gateway. And it does get you your bike circulation. I can say I was in a meeting yesterday with Lori Ike from DCNR, and it was, regarding the 462 bridge, and she specifically pulled Mark and I aside and said, what are you doing about bike trail connectivity on the 462 bridge? And I said, Lori, have you heard about our Walnut Street project? And I pulled the plans, and she was like, all right, yes. So it achieves the main goal we set out to do for the street, connecting the River Park downtown, and we're also maintaining our connectivity to 462 and Northwood Creek. Anybody has any questions? I'm happy to talk through it.
So, safety, the island protected, I know you said the cars, but cars are always going to be there. And number two, what's to prevent somebody from pulling in there parking?
In the
Bike lane.
in the bike lane. So the plan is to implore a significant amount of paving markings out here. So of course, the center island will be a white hatch. The bike lane will have green, similar to what was proposed in the 462 bridge. But we can do not only the kind of the bike symbols, but you can actually do big green kind of blocks where you could see those points where a vehicle might mistakenly enter the bike lane. I'm not at this point proposing any signage or reflectors. I see a lot of people do that where they try to put like reflectors along the bike lane. They generally get run over and tore out within a couple of months anyway. I would implore a lot of no parking signs on that northern side just to make sure they stay out of the bike lane. And again, we would just go heavy on the pavement markings. We did hear in our PennDOT safety meeting that their recommendation was not to try to put any sort of, now the curb was okay, but when we specifically asked about putting like bollards, even if they were removable, in front of the bike lanes, their recommendation was not to do so. Because you're adding an obstruction in the street, and I actually think they went from a legal standpoint that if something would happen, somebody would hit those bollards, we would potentially be liable for damage or whatnot. We'll speak on that in more. But, so I think from our standpoint, we would need to make sure that the paving markings are adequate and that the signage is adequate. And if someone can't listen to that, then my friend, I'm going to rely on my friend Chief over here.
What recourse does he have? Because you're still parking on the road.
As far as, well, there would be no parking along that sign. It's a designated bike lane. So no parking in the bike lane.
There would be no parking signs that would be enforceable, just as any other no parking zone in the borough would be. Yeah.
Okay.
If we put up no parking signs there, would we also have to paint that whole curb yellow to enforce the no parking sign? No? No, it doesn't have to be? Okay. I wasn't sure. Speaking of painting, we obviously are going to want these fresh. How often do you anticipate we would have to repaint these?
Well,
to keep them
yeah, I mean, you're going to want to go with a thermoplastic on here. I would go with that over waterborne. Probably every 3 to 5 years for thermo. Is that about what we're doing for crosswalks?
And
my hope is they would stay fresh. My hope is they would actually stay fresh a little longer because we wouldn't anticipate a lot of vehicular traffic on them.
We hope not.
So if you compare the life cycle to, again, what your average thermoplastic crosswalk is, and that's getting run over all day long. This shouldn't be receiving that amount of use.
We hope not.
Correct.
That's the goal. I would anticipate the bulb parts, the bulbous parts,
You're
will have
Get run
more,
over,
will
yeah.
be more,
You're gonna see where the turning radiuses are, and again, I would say for this design, a lot of the openings, especially kind of a good example of what you see here, the openings are largely designed for, pickup trucks and trash trucks, but we would anticipate that a larger vehicle or a trailer can still make the turn, they would just encroach on the center island. So the parking spaces, that's why you see in some cases we have some space in the bulb out, even though we don't need, before we were gonna plant trees in those bulb out areas, now we're just leaving them hatched, and that's to allow for additional turning radius for larger vehicles.
right? All right. Thank you, Alexi.
Derek, do you know when,
Oh, sorry.
no, I just wondered when it's starting.
So we just received, it's called we always call them bid dates, PennDOT calls them let dates. So PennDOT has given us a let date of June of 2025. That's
So
when
it's a ways
we're going
off.
out to bid. Not beginning of construction, that's when the bid is.
Yeah.
So
We're looking at 2026 to start.
Yeah.
potentially,
Okay.
potentially, and that was not, that let date unfortunately was not our control, that's what we were given.
Do I recall that this is going to be one way,
Yes, sir.
westbound?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yep, Ford River Park.
And will all the wiring to the lights and whatever be underground?
No, they will not. No, it's cost prohibitive to consider that at this point. We did look into it.
That's a shame.
It is. It was one of the first things we looked at. The initial response we actually received from PPL was that they might consider shifting all the lines to one side of the street as opposed to having the jog map there. But they weren't even willing to entertain us very long for putting everything underground.
Is the biggest part of the construction the sidewalk and curb, will most of that be taken up?
So we've discussed as a further, you're correct, by the way, but what we've discussed as a further cost-saving measure, we believe we can save a lot of the curbing that's out there right now. A lot of it's in good shape. It meets the minimum height requirement that we're looking for curb reveal. So we're actually going to evaluate that over the next month, what areas of curbing could potentially be saved in lieu of tearing everything out and starting all over. We will be replacing all of the sidewalk with the exception of some areas of the sidewalk that are back along the front of people's homes, and that is a right-of-way issue. We discussed that way early in the project, that the right-of-way doesn't reach all the way to the front of some people's homes, so we're going to stop short there in some locations. It's important, though. We're likely going to have to replace all the sidewalk, or a large percentage of it, no matter what. Aside from the sidewalk right now that is in deteriorating condition, or heaved, or just mismatched, there's going to be a heavy impact of the sidewalk from putting the lighting in, putting the poles in, running all the underground electric. We want to have flexibility where we locate tree wells proposed, and because they're not going to go back right where they are, we're probably going to move them around a little bit. So when we started doing the math on, even if we tried to save some sidewalk, how much would we save? Probably not, and you would really see it looking like a patchwork quilt. So long story short, we are proposing to replace a large percentage of the sidewalk, and I think that's a really important piece of the project.
That's why I asked that question.
Yep.
Where would be the extra expense if you're digging up the sidewalks? You already got the opening there to put the underground wiring in?
It's not,
So where would the extra?
yeah, it's not during the conduit.
Costs so much more.
Oh, but putting the wires underneath.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the expense isn't in opening up, it's actually installing all of the facilities that are needed to run electric, running the duct banks and the transformers, and it's significant. And the other thing is that on those power lines, it's not just electric, you have telecom, you have cable, you have a lot of other facilities that need to be relocated as well. So even though this project seems like it's been a long time and it's gonna be a long time, that effort would be a very long time. So I agree with you, Frank, and Mark and I said about it I think within the first month or two of you starting here at Borough Manager, we discussed trying to look into it and the amount of money that would cost.
If that was done, it would have switched the project. It would have made it just look so much better. And see up the wires.
Agreed.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the goal was to try and keep the construction portion as close to covered by the grant as possible and not have to spend more because we're already over on the engineering and so forth. All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns on this for Derek? I actually like it. I was very worried about that island, and I just thought that was going to make a lot of people unhappy, and so I was worried about that. So I think this is a good compromise, having that with the painting, as long as we can make sure that there's adequate signage to keep people out of that bike lane.
Absolutely.
And it'll make Jake happy to snow plow down. Not around the island.
Right. Although, now there's still the question of when it does snow, where are people going to put shovel the snow?
Yep.
Bike lane.
Yeah, the bike lane.
The bike lane. At least next to the curb over there.
Yep. All right. And next we have a discussion on potential PR firms. And this is Councilperson Carr.
Thank you. As you may recall, this conversation is about council pre-approving a public relations professional. Should there be a reason to engage with the media, and in a way that it's beyond the expertise of borough staff or representatives from the borough. I talked to more than 10 agencies from across the state and out of the state. Actually, I had real conversations with all of these agencies. This was my criteria, my boxes I was looking to have checked as I spoke with these agencies, as you may recall. Experts and experience in issues in crisis, especially crisis management, because that's when we would need to engage. Deep media relations for expedience and better acceptance of releases. In other words, they have to have a book of media contacts at the ready that they have good relationships with, so that when they send press releases out or have the conversations, those folks are willing to pick up stories and handle it for them. That happens with a relationship. More than 2 decades of experience in PR, have some kind of specialization or experience in government public relations, can offer us priority attention in crisis matters. So within 24 hours was what I was asking for. Can you respond within 24 hours? Doesn't have to be immediate, but within 24 hours. And can you provide analytics to gauge the effectiveness of the engagement? Like I said, I spoke to 10 or more, maybe it was a dozen. And I said I would come back with 6. I came back with 5. These 5 were my top picks. At the top, I'm sorry it's so small for those looking out there in the audience on the screen, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The name of the agency is in bold. Underneath that is the URL. If you're interested in talking and discovering more about them here at this meeting, Mark can go right to their website. Their phone numbers are here, their location is here, as is their hourly rate for services. I have my pick in here, my recommendation. But if you notice the hourly rate, there are significant differences. And for instance, Bellevue PR in Harrisburg, top-notch agency. This guy and his firm have had a lot of deep experience in municipal and government PR. He handled all the PR for Governor Rendell back in the day. He's a former lawyer. So much experience at $5.50 an hour. So as you can see, going from $100 an hour to number 4 to $5.50 an hour, prices and cost investment are all over the map. So number 1, I'll start there. Gavin, we've worked with them. They know us and we know them, and they're $205 an hour. Now, Faria Rubel, they are a very high-level PR agency. I could certainly see them coming in should we have like a major crisis that gets national attention, as on CNN or something like that. I'm not expecting that to happen here. Bellevue, as I said, tons of experience in government, PR. Anne Marie Swinehart, she has 25 years of experience. She actually was a PR expert for a marketing agency in the city that I have a relationship with. And PR Works, a nice little firm in Harrisburg that does a bit more than PR as well. So you can read the bullet points unless you want me to read them to you. Do you have any questions? Shall I make a recommendation, or where would you like me to go with the conversation?
Are these all on as-needed basis?
Yes. The request was, can you work with the borough on a non-retainer basis, on call, and how soon would you be able to respond to an emergency crisis call if we're not on a retainer? And that had to be within 24 hours.
Okay. I'm not as concerned about, I don't think, the price per hour, because certainly we would not be using them all the time.
Right.
So I don't feel like we would have to necessarily go with the cheapest one, just to be saving money. I would hope that it would be quite infrequent that we would need their services.
Yes, I would. But we did have an incident in the recent past where a PR firm was called and without prior approval, and it created some problems. So I think it's best that we have somebody at least, or even a list. I mean, just keep the list handy, right? I've talked to all of them. All of them are willing to work with us, depending on the level of the engagement that's needed.
And what is your recommendation and why?
I would recommend Anne Marie Swinehart. She has 25 years of experience. She's worked in Lancaster County all those years. She knows the ins and outs of PR in Lancaster County, has relationships with media outlets in Lancaster County. She's $100 an hour, and I think that she would be a really good first step. I'm confident that Chief, Mayor, Mark, Council President, there are many folks in the borough that can step up and handle the media. Should there be something that needs a little bit more expertise, I think that she would be a good first step to help us gauge whether we need to go to the next step. Here's what I would hate to do. Call somebody in at $5.50 an hour and maybe it wasn't needed. I'd rather bring in somebody at $100 an hour, and if we need to scale up, she can advise us on that. And I asked her that question. Exactly. Would you help us move up the chain, up the ladder of expertise if things should escalate? She said, absolutely. No.
So are you saying she would be willing to refer you to someone else that had more knowledge than she did?
Yeah. So
we could keep a list, essentially.
Sure.
That we could make contact from the first to the...
But I think that for this discussion and to have an approval, this is what I would be asking of the council. Can we have one person that we can agree on this evening or in the near future that should borough manager need to reach out to somebody in the middle of the night, he has an approval to do that. And who is that person? At his discretion, he may call them, and he has the approval to call that person. I'm thinking Anne Marie Swinehart would be a good first point of contact to the media.
So the discussion went from retaining a particular PR firm to, you're now asking for authorization.
That wasn't, what this discussion was not, was about, I'm sorry, not hiring a firm on retainer.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
But you want us to pick a firm.
I want you to pick a firm that Mark has the ability, the approval of council to go to should he feel he needs to get a PR agency involved, should something happen in the borough and the media is on him now, and it's a little bit above his ability to handle these circumstances, the situation, his expertise.
I gotta be honest, I'm against authorizing that. We're all an email away, a phone call away. But to authorize an open checkbook for something that I'm guessing.
One thought I have on that is just that we hire outside professional advice and consulting all the time with our council and with our engineering. And it's just, we require those services for the problems that require those services. And so, to me, this isn't much different in the sense of even in the last several months, there have been incidents that could have been worse than they were. And those are the moments that you want to be ready with people that can handle it. And this isn't signing up with a retainer or a contract with those people, but to have someone that we know we can call in a pinch. Is it the financial constraints of us deciding this now don't change. We would still have to approve an expenditure that's above the limit that the borough manager can just unilaterally decide anyways. So if it would come to greater than $10,000, it's not going to happen beyond the approval of council, right?
Right.
Am I mistaken?
That's right, that's correct.
So that we don't have to approve anything. I would rather just go with the list.
You could do that too. That's what I said.
I think what you did is a wonderful job. It gives Mark the ability to pick.
Could we approve who's on the list? How long is the list going to be?
This is the list I vetted out for all of you. There's 5 people, 5 agencies.
I would vote on
represented.
it for 4 of those to be on the list.
That's why we're having the discussion. That is exactly the reason why we're having the discussion. Because of the one firm. No, this would not even be a discussion.
So I mean, like I said, Ty, I appreciate the work you put into it. What you gave us is informal, and the information is wonderful. I'm perfectly fine with the list. I'm perfectly fine with understanding that Mark does have that ability to spend $10,000. But I don't think, as council, we should sit here and give pre-approval for spending money outside of anything. Am I wrong with that? I don't know.
Well, I think the idea here is, like Peter was saying, is to have something already established. The last thing we want to do in the middle of a crisis or an emergency is to go shop for somebody. I think to establish a relationship and have it there, so when something happens on a Friday afternoon at 5:30 and we need to get that coverage, we know who to pick up the phone and call right away. Yes, we can inform council, hey, there's an incident where, the media is all over it. Before this gets out of hand, we're going to get in front of this. I think having that ability to have that relationship in place already is important.
And by establishing, I'm sorry, Lauren.
Do you think it would be a good idea for you to contact these people and find the one that you feel most comfortable with? Or chief, or whoever would be making that call?
My preference is to have one firm that we know we're going to be working with and know us. It's good to have that established relationship and can just go. I mean, like you say, you hope it doesn't happen often, but you learn in emergency management, you plan in a time of calm for a time of crazy, You want to have everything in place so that when the situation hits, you don't have to go down a list and go, well, gosh, last time I called them, they were kind of busy. You just want to be able to go because you got 15 things all do at the same time and you want to get in front of a situation that's growing quickly. So the ability to simply have that in place, and maybe like Todd was saying, maybe Ann is our first go-to. We start there, and then if we need to escalate up, then we pick someone off the finalized approved list to say, hey, listen, we're gonna take this higher. We're gonna call in now. Bellevue, we need them on now. This is becoming a bigger issue. So whatever the path is, I'd like to have an initial start person until we know. So chief knows. So when things start going sideways, we're prepared.
When you said establish a relationship, I just wanted to make sure but I see Ann does not have retainers.
None of them. Everyone that offered a retainer, or required a retainer, didn't offer, but required some sort of retainer, even for an initial engagement, I eliminated it.
Okay.
So none of these folks will require a retainer to engage.
And what Todd said about her being familiar with all the media outlets in the vicinity that's a good plus too.
I mean, she's totally local here.
Yeah, I liked the fact that this was the one and only that was actually here in Lancaster. Because I think that's important.
So Gavin, we had a bad experience with. Not bad, just some of this word stuff. Ed and Maria, I mean, I agree, Lancaster County local. I have no problem saying, Mark, you want to spend 200 hours there in Columbia and introduce her to the town and make sure she understands some stuff. I have no problem with that. I just have a problem with carte blanche. We'll see in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Good luck with that. I understand in the middle of the night you may have to contact somebody, but at the same time, we're also supposed to be notified, so I mean, it's not a goal now, let's put it that way, or goal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a little more time there than that, that's my only issue.
Well, mine was a lot to do with the expense of the last incident, and I don't know, and of course the other part where I didn't think we were going to be using them anymore, but I mean, I still have struggled with the fact that we need to have a PR firm. I mean, if it's a really large, like you were saying, nationwide attention on our town, maybe then I would say, yeah, we got to have help here. But I still struggle with small things that we can't handle ourselves. I don't know, it's still a hard sell for me.
I agree.
I agree.
But I mean, it was told to us that it's going to be a major incident.
Right. And so if it's not abused,
Right.
and we're not using it every week or something, that's
Right.
different, but I don't know.
I think that's where we set aside some parameters and decide, okay, you know, this is the kind of incident, these are the kind of things that would apply. But again, I would say, you know, if this goes in place, Chief and I need the ability to call them in as needed. And in today's world, news spreads quickly, and that's where we're living in a different time.
The rumor spreads faster.
I go back to, when we studied this in emergency management, the whole situation, the horrible tragedy that happened at Sandy Hook School. Parents were showing up at the school while the police were still arriving, trying to get information, because kids were sending messages to the parents, texting, get them on Facebook Live, videoing, and sending stuff out, and people were getting information before the police even had any sense of what was happening out there. News travels so much faster now, and the media social media has created a different situation than we did in the past, where you might not find out until the 5 o'clock news and newspaper the next day. Well, those days are gone. You know within seconds. So the ability to react quickly and get in front of a news story that's spreading with false information is mission critical.
Yeah, okay, so I understand what you're saying, but how would Anne Marie or
John Rocks or anybody?
Rubel, I guess, the less expensive one, $650 now, how are they going to get the information out any faster than the next day newspaper or the 5 o'clock news?
They have, most of these firms, and Todd, I didn't ask this question, but a lot of these firms have software that can scrape the social media networks than we, the average citizen, cannot. So they have the ability to go in behind the scene, if you will, and search and see if something is spreading on social media.
Well, I understand that part of it, but that's control, that's not information.
It goes back.
But that's what information is being spread out there.
It goes back to the idea of having a network of people, relationships in the media that you can go to. Listen, I've tried to put press releases out myself. I don't know anybody. I've tried. Pretty important press releases. I thought I'd get picked up easily. Nothing. I hire a PR agent who has lots of relationships, and it's something pretty insignificant. They get it published everywhere. That's the difference maker.
Oh, I'm all in favor of it, I'm just,
Eric, are you trying to ask how much faster, because either the chief or Mark would have to give the information to these people to start with, right? Or not? Is that not what you're getting at?
yeah, I don't.
You also know how to manage the messages, right? To manage, I hate to use the word narrative, but to manage your own message and to deal with perhaps things that language that could either make you liable or put you in a bad way, one way or the other. You know, they're there to protect you to a degree, in the truth, right? If that makes sense. Here's what I say, man. Here's what I say. Okay, so let's not give Mark carte blanche access to the PR checkbook. All right? Oftentimes, somebody here, there's multiple professionals here who have tons of experience who are articulate enough to deal with the media. What say Jack, the police chief, the borough manager, council president, and the mayor agree that this is an incident none of them can handle? They fall back on the PR agency. Maybe that's the criteria. This is all I wanted, was I didn't want to have somebody on borough staff reach out to somebody to have to engage like this, like they did last time, and wind up getting a lot of flack because they needed help and they chose the wrong person.
Well, no, I agree with
right?
that.
When all the intention was pure and just, they did what they felt they needed to do in a time of crisis. And I didn't think they deserved to be slapped on the wrist for it. They did their best under duress. I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. You guys do with this information what you want. I'm recommending pick one that these guys can go to, that you've already approved, to start the conversation. Then they come to council, hey, we've reached out to these people, you guys cool with that? Anne Marie's cool, she says she can do it for $500, you guys cool with that? We approve it, fine, yeah, great, we like Anne Marie. You're not using Gavin, right? No, okay, that's all we needed to know.
Todd, I want to go back to what you said about being slapped in the wrist. I asked a question about an expenditure, and I was under the impression we were no longer using that term. That was a legitimate question for me to ask, that expense. I don't feel like I was trying to slap anyone on the wrist. I was questioning why. And I think that was completely legitimate. We needed to know why.
That was a fine and fair question.
Yeah.
But the way it was positioned, and to me, it appeared as a slap on the wrist from multiple council members. So I don't want to have that happen again. I'd rather mitigate any chance of miscommunications by pre-approving someone to go in a fashion that makes sense and we can all read.
I agree. I mean, I'm perfectly fine. Anne Marie sounds like a good choice.
It sounds to me like that works best for you as well. So let's just.
And I would like to, like you said, call them, have a sit down, meet with them, talk with them.
Absolutely, there's lots to talk about.
Yeah, and let Chief and I in a small group meet these people and see, and if we do feel like that's not a good fit, we'll come back and say, well, let's try somebody else. But I think I'd like to at least start the process, have it in place.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
I think the big thing that originally when we canceled our retainer with Gavin was, what are we doing with this expense?
Yeah.
You know? And if we can have what we had, there was a reason we initially signed up for a retainer with Gavin. Like, we wanted to have that access, and so if we can have the same thing that we had then, but without a retainer, then we're ahead. And with a PR firm that we agreed on, so I think it's good information.
Just make sure she knows the first meeting, that if she publishes something with something spelled wrong, it is all over.
Or the wrong
Especially
date of
Columbia.
the incident.
Right.
They spelled it like Columbia wrong?
I'm just kidding.
Or, that's number one.
Do we need to make a motion on this? Would you like a motion on this?
I don't think this needs to be an action. This is more of a just direction that, go ahead and call, see if you're comfortable with her. If not, come back and let us know.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Good work. We had comment? Was there a comment on me?
I had a comment, towards the middle of this.
Can you use the microphone so we can make sure that
I had a comment towards the middle of the discussion, that, you could use an email or something to send information between yourselves before calling in somebody. And then the point was addressed that news travels lightning fast, and bad news travels even faster. And I think you need, I would feel fine as a resident, as a business owner here, as an individual, that you're trusting that you've made this great list, and this list has somebody for $100 an hour who's local, is really good with local stuff, and you've got somebody at the other end who's more expensive, and you can have a high confidence that this person could handle national news people if you needed to. And that's a kind of decision we have to rely on a borough manager or the police chief or the council president here to make that decision pretty lickety-split. If you have a snowplow hits a van full of dogs.
Anne Marie Swinehart's probably going to be good for that, if you feel that that's a situation that is going to draw attention to the borough. If you have a train derailment down here, you probably want to go with somebody who's got a lot more pull. And that's a decision we have to rely on these people to make that as soon as they get the call that this is going on down here. Well, $100 an hour. The difference between $100 and $550 is nothing when you look at the impact on the town. It seems like a lot to right now, looking at this sheet. But at 3 in the morning, when he's looking at this sheet, looking for somebody who's really good with national or state issues, we have to rely on these people to make that decision and support them in that. That was my only comment.
Thank you.
So, I would like to add that, I agree with what you're saying. The borough manager has $10,000 to spend. So, it's not a matter of can you pick one or not.
Tammy says no.
Up to $10,000. Better?
No, Tammy doesn't even like that word.
But my point is, he has that ability for our law.
Legally.
Yes. So it's not a matter of, my thing is, I don't want to authorize it because that becomes almost a promised expense. I'd rather just allow him to use it as discretion and move forward that way. If it's something that big, we'll all be involved in it. That's my only point. And I appreciate the work you did. I think the whole list should be available to them. Maybe cross out and have it if nobody really wants to work with them. But, I mean, you're right. You have people all over the place on that, from local, state, and national, that he may have to use sometime. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work.
All right. Staff reports, comments, and announcements. We have Solicitor Gable.
I don't believe I have anything else to add this evening. We'll make sure that zoning ordinance amendment is advertised ASAP so we can get that taken care of.
All right. And just so I understand, because, I really need to make sure I understand it, we actually have to advertise it twice before we vote on it?
You have to advertise it twice, not more than 30 days before, and not less than 7 days before. So it's got to be advertised once for 2 consecutive weeks, essentially.
And it will be a hearing.
It will be a public hearing, yes, but it'll be one that can be contained within the council meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Borough engineer, anything else?
2 things. Number 1, we have our final walkthrough scheduled tomorrow for the 2nd Street CDBG project, which is now complete. If anybody's not seen it yet, take a walk down. We, your staff, kind of were discussing today, we think it's arguably one of the biggest transformations of the street we've seen in CDBG. It is really, we've done some really good projects over the years. That one, when you look at the before and afters, is pretty striking. So very happy with how that one came out. We are working with the contractor on the final application for payment. We're $400 under budget. So within contract price on that one.
Nice.
So positive on that one. Number 2, so maybe not as positive. We had a meeting, Mark and I attended a meeting in Wrightsville yesterday with PennDOT to discuss the 462 Bridge project. PennDOT has some significant work ahead of them. We'll say over the next 7 to 10 years, I'm sure you guys are somewhat aware of. In discussing some of the hurdles that they have ahead of them with scope of work and means and methods, it became clear to Mark and I that the window that we felt we had with the delay of the project to try to get in there and do some work down at River Park for phase 3, we think that window is barely open, if open at all. So we are at this point recommending that the council halt the bus on doing any additional engineering permitting work for River Park Phase 3 until after the 462 Bridge project is wrapped up. Really wanted to get something going down there. We're just not feeling confident that the timing and permitting and funding is all going to be able to work out into the small window that we would need to do something down there.
That's unfortunate, but, I mean, I think we all kind of thought it was gonna come to that.
Yeah, everything, I'm happy to report that especially for the culvert and stream restoration, that design is 99% complete. We are at a permit submission point right now where everything is put together, basically ready to be submitted. But it wouldn't be wise to submit a permit without any thought of when we're going to get it. So the recommendation I made to Mark yesterday and staff agreed with today was we should stop at this point, shelf that project, and just be ready to resurrect it when we see that we have an opportunity. We might get more information in 3 to 6 months that changes our opinion, but as of right now, I think it would be prudent to continue that.
Can I ask Derek a question? The Second Street project, do you remember when a resident was here and they requested a stop sign be put? I think they said Cherry and Second near the school. Was that able to be done? Do you remember that?
We did not have a stop sign.
Okay.
We did not have a stop sign. We looked at it and didn't really feel it met the warrant.
Okay.
For such, we would have had to do a stop sign study for that. We would not be precluded from adding one now. It's really not a lot of additional work to go out there with a core drill and put a stop sign in, so it's not like it could never happen. But we didn't include that as part of our.
Okay.
Yeah.
Derek, with River Park Phase 3, I believe section 1 or 2, -A-2-3, they were talking about putting.
Subsection C.
Subsection C. They were talking about putting additional parking at the River Park.
Yes.
Is that still a possibility? Or is that?
Not until after the culvert and.
Well, there was the part of the.
This is across from.
It's phase, Eric, it was phase 3-1, just so we're clear.
Okay.
No, the part of the culvert in the initial trail plan, we were adding parking spaces opposite the existing spaces in front of the building, right at the entry there. It involved kind of pushing the bank back a little bit, putting some additional parking in, all the way up till where the propane tank is. You know, we could keep going, but it got to the point that the cost per space just seemed a little unreasonable. I don't see any reason why that couldn't still be done. Again, at this point, we really need to understand what PennDOT's scope, schedule, and impact to River Park is going to be during this before I would recommend the borough do anything.
I'm not talking about the whole Phase 3 project. I'm talking about just the parking.
No, I know.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's all gonna get impacted as they're going to and from their right-of-way and all of that underneath there.
Correct. At this point, they're evaluating the types of equipment and material that are going to need to be taken in and out of that project, and they're still working on that plan right now. So I just think it's wise for us to not make any decisions until we truly know what their scope and their means, methods, and schedule are for that project.
Because I hate to start putting in more parking and then have them turn around and say they're gonna be bringing in equipment that's gonna end up tearing it up anyway, or, you know.
I think we'll know more. PennDOT is working right now very hard to get a better plan in place. And I think as they progress, I will say that I feel like we have a really good relationship with the PennDOT team, and they're keeping us informed of what's going on. So I feel confident that in the near future, we'll have a better idea of what the needs are going to be. And then at that point, we can make a final decision. If we realize that, hey, there's going to be very little impact to that portion of the river park, then we can go forward with it. If they realize that they're going to need part of that for some of their staging based on the size of equipment and what they need, it's not worth it. So I think as we progress and PennDOT gets a better idea, we'll have a better idea. I think the reality of, and using PennDOT's words, there's going to be significant impact when they start this project in earnest, and everyone realizes that.
Do you suspect the boat ramp to be closed?
That is one possibility, but they're trying to avoid it. And I say closed, that may be that they have to simply use that as access to get into the river. They may go north of the bridge and put a ramp in to access up there. They're going to have to do the same thing on the York side and figure out ways, depending on what piece of equipment they're bringing in, which access point they use to get it into the water. So I'm saying we'll continue to work with them. There's just too many variables right now, and they're not sure. They're still trying to figure it all out.
Thank you.
us.
Oh, yeah. Mark? Eric? Any kids in here?
We'll be lucky if we see it started. All right, anything else? Thank you, Sunshine. Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Stivers.
Thank you. A few things. You're going to see some nice, pleasant changes coming into town here soon. The holiday lights will be going up. We're getting the lift to get the tree decorated, and Jake and his crew are going to start working on getting the lights on the trees. So that's starting soon, and it should all be done in time for the parade. We had talked about an idea of having a July 4th event next year.
Thank you, I had that on my list.
Yep, sorry, I stole yours. What I would like to propose and to kind of get a feel from council is we'd like to do either us in Wrightsville or a Rivertown kind of celebration and during the day have events happening down at the crossing in town and then end with fireworks over the river. We thought it'd be fun to get the community engaged, get out there and have a big Independence Day celebration right here in town, utilizing the river. Wrightsville is in. They'd like to do something with us. I talked to Marietta Borough. They're talking about it tonight at their council meeting. I just think it's a great idea and a great way for us as a community to celebrate. So, thoughts?
I've been hoping for this day for a long time.
Well,
only because of fireworks on the river, I've been hoping for that. So.
Yeah.
I mean, this came up today because in my meeting with Mark and Tammy this morning, I said, I realized that I had forgotten to ask for something on the budget. And we wanted to make sure that we had the line item, because it has to be a separate line item based on the state chart of accounts, the way, the state accounting is. So I wanted to make sure if we were okay with this, I want it to be added on the budget before we approve it, so that it's there and it's not an issue.
So if you're going to make this kind of a deal, very big deal, and you're bringing folks from Marietta down here now, as the three river towns, I know that at the crossings, it gets pretty full pretty quickly with just people from Columbia watching the Wrightsville fireworks. And they can't see them anyway because the bridge is in the way. What are you going to do about bringing visitors in? Where do people view from? Do you shut the bridge down? Do you have parking on the bridge? Is this going to be a big hairy deal that maybe we're not quite ready for?
One, I think that's why I want to start now and plan out something that is going to work. I love the idea of packing the downtown and having a big fun day, getting events down at the river park, food trucks, activities for people to do. I like when it gets a little crowded, gets a little busy. I think it's an exciting way. I think having, bring bands in, have some live music down there, and then end the evening with fireworks. We'd have to scope it and scale it so that it fits in the space we have. But the idea, again, of ending with fireworks and river, so we, both sides can enjoy the same show and we can split the cost, I think it's a great idea. So yeah, I think once we know that we're moving forward, we'll scale it appropriately for what we want to do.
Right, and we were just talking of getting the numbers from Jack on the cost from the
National Night Out.
National Night Out, thank you, I was having a problem there. Finding it. National Night Out, and based on the time and things like that, and knowing that this would probably be a little more, even though we'd be sharing the cost, we were thinking like the line item to be about $8,000. Yeah.
$8,000 for our contribution to the fireworks display. Who sponsors Wrightsville and Marietta right now? Is that the boroughs or is that?
Wrightsville Borough
business?
does their,
They collect.
and then Marietta, I think it's a separate organization that does theirs, because they do theirs during their festival, which I would anticipate them not necessarily wanting to be in this. That's what we were saying this morning. But who knows? Yeah, they do. But who knows? Maybe they want to join in. But we were thinking with just us in Wrightsville, and
I can't imagine businesses not wanting to contribute if that was required to pull it off.
But yeah, so we just wanted to make sure that was okay to put that on the agenda, because we had discussed that in July, that everyone was saying we wanted to have the fireworks.
Yeah, how do you tie that in with and this is way off topic now, rabbit trails, sorry. But, the burning of the bridge, right? That happened July 4th. The battle was July 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
First, second, and third.
First, second, and third. First, second, and third. Yeah, it ties in with that whole.
Yep. So, yeah. Yep. Very good. Then you'll see that on the budget.
Yep. All right, final thing, keep you guys up to date. The Blue Lane subdivision has now been recorded. We talked about it today. Evan's going to get the deeds recorded for that. So we're hoping then we can get that prepped for sale early next year and get that done and finished. So let's move along nicely. And that's what I have for tonight. Thank you.
All right. Boards, commissions, and committees. Upcoming meetings. Planning Commission meets next Tuesday, and Shade Tree Commission meets on the 27th.
Heather, speaking of shade trees, if you guys haven't noticed, the Shade Tree Commission did go around. They planted 22 trees.
22, how many trees?
23
trees. Yes.
And it looks nice to see new
I bought my
trees.
tree.
Still planted it.
I bought my tree, and I like my tree, and it's very cool.
And we have 2 new ones down at the staff parking lot down there too, so it's exciting.
All right, and in your packet, there is the approved LASA minutes. Borough Council comments, Councilperson Bernard.
Please sign up for Text My Gov. Thank you.
Councilperson Fisher.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Yes, I do, and maybe it was probably due back in my, economics part of this, but, 2 years ago, Tyler and I joined Maggie Stivers on, I don't want to say the wrong name for the board.
The Compliance Review Board.
Compliance Review Board. And Todd and I especially, I'm assuming Mark did too, we learned a lot about our codes department, the good and the bad. And I think we work to make changes in that area. Coming out of COVID, there was approximately 300 rental units that were not inspected, past due. 200 someone past due, 300 total or something like that. Tuesday or Friday, Thursday last week, I was informed that they're down to 15 to do. So they caught up, they did a wonderful job. It's all about making Columbia a safe place to be. So, thank you.
The credit goes to Paul, Manager Paul.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I just wanted to mention that with us having the meeting here on November 6th about the homeless situation in the borough, I would encourage anyone on council that has not toured the shelter to please do so. I don't think it's fair to participate in any discussions about that if we haven't toured it and tried our best to learn about it before we commit to making any comments about it publicly. So, thank you.
I was gonna bring up about the fireworks,
Beat
so
it.
I don't have that. I just wanted to remind everyone that in the upcoming meetings, we're at the end of the year, we're gonna be having a lot of the housekeeping items that are coming up. The work session in December, we're gonna be reviewing all of the board vacancies and who we have applied for those vacancies and everything, with the hopes that we would vote on those the first meeting in December. So we can review all of that. And Mark and I have been started to look at the reorganization agenda to make sure we have all of that in place for January. Because that's going to be a lot of resolutions that you can on as well. So we'll have that all ready to go.
Will we know ahead of time who is applying for reappointment
That's
before
what
we vote?
That's what we're going to know. That's what we're going to go through on at the work session in December. So then
the voting.
The voting will take place the following meeting. And I've asked Mark to contact everyone that wants either appointed or reappointed to ask them to come here to that work session so that if we have questions. And I've also asked Mark to have the chairman of those boards give us some insight, attendance records and things like that, so we can make informed decisions. So, the announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on November 6th, the budget meeting on the 16th has been canceled. So the council will hold a regular meeting on November 28th, 2023.
That was still on there because the time we put the agenda out, we hadn't had our Thursday workshop yet. So we're
Right.
like, do we put it on? Do we take it off? So
So I said, you know what,
it
let's put
stayed
it
on the
on.
agenda just in case.
Just in case, that way it was on there. And then tonight we will be adjourning to an executive session to discuss a personnel issue. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Price to adjourn at 8:42 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. Got checks to sign and